Hello? You don't know what's happening? Don't kiss me. Girl. Hey everyone, I am going live for my weekly dog training Q&A. And I've got my questions all lined up, and I'm going to get right into it. Moon Pie and Bamba and I just came in from outside, so my cheeks are a little red because it's cold outside, but now they're nice and tired. So they let me do this without pestering me. All right, so the first question is, how do you properly introduce a new baby and a dog? And congratulations, by the way, on the new baby, Melissa. They do already have a child in the house, so the dog is accustomed to a child. With a new baby, I actually teach the dog to pretty much ignore the baby in the beginning, just because the baby's so small and so easy to hurt without the dog actually meaning to, especially like if the dog is still really boisterous and whatnot. So I would do a lot of just like focusing on calm energy around the baby, having Athena hold a place command or a down stay, making sure that she's not being really demanding of your attention, especially when you're seeing to the baby, because you're going to be spending a lot more time with the newborn, and probably less time with Athena. The other thing I would do is make sure you're giving her that time every day, even if it's only a few minutes where you're 100% engaged with her. Take 2 minutes to just do some quick training with her, or if you can get outside to play with her. You might also want to think about hiring a dog walker, depending on your schedule. But first thing you want to focus on is calm behavior around the baby. So like I said, that downstay and whatnot. And once the dog shows that they can do that, calm interest in the dog is fine. Calm interest in the infant is fine. So if she's like really calmly and softly going over and being near the baby, that's fine, but I would not encourage her to go sniff her or like make a big deal about pointing her out. It's all about existence when you bring an infant into the house. So next up is, how do I get my dog to ignore sticks, acorns, etc. in the yard during playtime? This is from Annie. I have this problem with Moon Pie also. She's like lately eating pine needles, which are gross because they don't digest, right? So I've been using the remote collar a lot with her. I conditioned her to the remote collar first by teaching her to come when called. And then what I do is with the remote collar, I correct her for eating acorns or in her case, pine needles. So you can certainly try that. I don't know if you're open to a remote collar or not. What I've done in the past is I actually keep a line on the dog, and I'll verbally mark it with my voice, no, and then I'll go in and grab the line and correct them. And basically, if I'm spending a lot of time in the yard just constantly telling my dog, don't eat that, they're going to go inside and they're going to go in their crate. So I teach them, hey, if you can't hang out here without eating stuff, you're going to lose the ability to be out here at all. So a few different things that you can try. And so the next question is from Jen. Jen asked 2 questions. One of hers is, how do you discourage play biting and nipping at each other during play? So she's talking about she has 2 dogs in the house that are well matched, and they probably play a little rough. And the answer is you don't. Biting, nipping, barking, it's all normal parts of dog play. So asking them to be quiet during play is not an option for most dogs. Like my dogs, I'll film it for you sometime. When Moon Pie and Bamba play, they're very loud. They're growling and snapping and all that. So what you need to determine is, excuse me, what level of intensity are you comfortable with? So for me, there's a certain level of intensity that I'll allow, but once it gets over what I'm comfortable with, I tell them that they need to stop. So I have a way of, we've chatted about this before. You have to have a way of stopping the dogs from doing what they're doing, and you need to teach that in a totally different context before you can use it when they're in play. So yeah, that's my answer, is you don't. So decide what you're comfortable with and allow it. And when you decide that it's too much, tell them they're done playing. I also don't allow a ton of play in the house. If we're dealing with like really bad weather, like we were in the past, maybe I'll allow some play in the house, but it's by permission. They're not just kind of in my house playing all day. So you might want to look at that too, is like how often are they playing? Is it too often? So, and the other thing Jen asked is there a good word to use to teach a dog to lay in a relaxed way? So by this she means when one of her dogs lies down, she's up on her haunches and instead of relaxed onto a hip. I just teach that as down. So if I want my dog to lay down like that, I won't reward unless they lay down and relax on a hip. And let me see if I can show you what I mean by this. Who wants to help? So, I'll pick you up here. Moon pie, down. So see how she's kind of up on her haunches there? I wouldn't reward that. I'd push her over on her hip, which I actually don't do with my dogs. And I'd only reward that. I don't know how much you can see. Can I flip this around? Yeah, there we go. All right. So that would be relaxed on a hip, which is not how she normally lays. Okay. Sit. Good. Down. And that would be up on her haunches. I allow a dog to lay like this if they're settled and relaxed. So Bamba isn't very comfortable relaxing on a hip, so I just don't make them. Nope. Down. Thanks. But if I wanted her to, you're not being very helpful. Come here. Moon pie. Good girl. If I wanted to, I could down and then give that cue to relax the hip and teach them that they only get fed for the down once they're down and relaxed. Other people will say relax to the dog, meaning relax on a hip. For me, the less words, the better. If I don't have to add an extra word, I don't want to. It looks like someone is asking some questions. My dog mistakes me for a dog. She does start to play bite me, and her new favorite thing is mounting me. Okay. So I'm not sure how old your dog is. There's definitely different ways I'll handle it depending on the age of the dog. Like a super young dog, I might try to redirect before actually correcting them. And by young, I mean like 3 months old or younger, I might try to redirect some of that biting and whatnot. 1 to 2 years, okay, yeah. So, at 1 to 2 years, I don't know that I consider it. You need to correct, because that's a problem. At 1 to 2 years, if a dog still thinks that putting a mouth on a human is okay, we need to do something to tell that dog, no, it's not okay. A lot of it might be looking at your interaction with the dog. You may need to reel in your attention or the amount of attention you give your dog, especially if your energy is really high. So with a lot of friendly dogs, what we tend to do is go up to them and rush up and are really intense with our energy with a dog who's already intense with their energy. So you might need to dial your energy back. And then when she does do it, like you said, yes, you need to tell her no, but what does that mean to her? Because if you just say the word no and she's not stopping, then she doesn't understand what no means. You can use a squirt bottle for that. You can do a collar grab. You can do something like that. But you need to find a way of effectively teaching her what no means, and you need to do that separate from the situation. So a lot of times I'll teach a dog no when they're really calm and quiet. You can actually look up the Gary Wilkes bonker video. He has a pretty good explanation of how to teach no using a bonker. That's another option. And as for the humping, again, you need to teach them no. That's not a sexual thing usually, especially in a spayed female. She will usually stop for at least half a minute. Yeah. So that's, to me, that's not stopping. That is, I'm going to think about it and I'm going to do it again. But for the humping, the same thing. You need to find a way of telling her no where she goes, oh, sorry, I didn't know that wasn't okay. So it could be grabbing her by the collar. Sometimes I'll grab the scruff. I'll use a squirt bottle, use a bonker, something like that. You could use a remote collar if she's properly conditioned to it, but I always tell people whenever I'm using a remote collar, I don't introduce it by correcting the dog. I introduce it by motivating the dog. So if you are going to use a remote collar, you definitely need to work with a trainer with that, or at least educate yourself about how to use it before kind of slapping it on your dog and correcting them. All right, you guys, that is it for now. Those are all the questions I got, and I have got to run. Thanks so much for you guys that tuned in. I will be turning this into a YouTube video so you can view it later. All right, you guys, enjoy your day. Bye.